let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, thank you all for taking time to attend our meeting tonight. We're going to have a beer board meeting. I'll just mention that we do have a place to sign up. If anyone would like to speak, I would ask that you come and sign up. We'll have opportunities for public input on the agenda and public input for items not on the agenda. But if you'll go ahead and do that, that will help facilitate our work. So we'll begin with the beer board meeting. So I'd like to call this meeting to order, 7:02. We have one application in front of us. And this is an application for an on-premise permit. And the applicant's name is Keith Friend and LaShawana Friend. Okay. Thank you. And let's see, they are the ones that will be operating the business called Wayland's Place. I think we've all seen it, anxiously anticipating that. And the location of the business is 7613 Old Highway 73 in Townsend. And let's see, other information I can tell you from the application. What is the name and address of the church nearest to your business? That would be St. Francis Catholic Church. And I think that's more than 200 feet away. What's the name of the elementary school? Townsend Elementary, and that's also more than 200 feet away. Let's see. Will the permit be used to operate two or more restaurants? No. And then there's the name of another manager. Signature of the applicant as notarized. So, City Manager, did we receive a complete application and a fee to accompany this permit?
We did.
Okay. All right. Let me get a motion and a second, get this up for discussion, then I'll go over to Chief Connie.
Make a motion to accept the beer permit for Wayland's Place.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Chief Condi, have you had a chance to look at this application?
Yes, sir, I did. Didn't find anything negative that would prohibit them from having their permit.
Okay. And am I right in thinking it's more than 200 feet from the nearest elementary school or church?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions?
Anybody from police
for the
in here?
applicant or for Chief Condi on this application?
They had a beer permit before, correct? When it was open before?
Previous business?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. Okay, any other questions? Give you just another minute to look it over, and I'll call the question on this. Do we have any public input? Anybody sign up to speak on this? Oh, sorry, Mike, you need to take a look.
I'm just Mr. Freeman. Do you have any questions for me?
Okay, would you like to say anything?
No. Good. My wife said, you're going, I'm taking the baby to swimming lessons, so that's where I'm at.
All right, we got it. Commissioners, any other questions? All in favor of approving this application, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
When will you open? Or do you know yet?
You know, last two people I told that, they postponed me another 2 months. So I'm gonna tell you this much, I'm waiting on 2 pieces of paper, and this young lady and my wife are gonna do this POS system, and we're gonna get it on. because I want something, I mean, no disrespect, but I want somebody to come there. It's not a fast food place. I want everybody to come in, sit down, enjoy themselves, and their food will be prepped as you order. It will not be cold. If it's cold, you tell my wife. And believe me, I'm ready for you to tell that.
All right, we're looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your application.
I appreciate it.
All right, Commissioners, we'll close this beer board meeting here at 7:06 PM, and that will conclude our beer board meeting. Okay, Commissioners, catch up with our agenda again. Okay, so I would like to have a call for anybody to take a look at the items on the agenda. It's a call for commissioners. If any commissioner would like to add anything to our agenda, and then I'm going to make entertain motions to adopt our agenda before we get going tonight. That's a little different process, but I think we're going to start to include that as we move forward. So do any commissioners have any comments on the agenda? See anything missing or something that they would like to add?
Are we going to discuss this today on anything with the agenda? Is it on here somewhere and I just missed it?
It's not, it's more of a report.
Okay, for the report, okay. I didn't know if we needed to.
I have something. Last month, back in the January workshop, we talked about adding residents back into B1 and actually all districts. And that was something we agreed upon would be quick and easy and should be done right away. And it's gotten kicked and kicked and kicked and kicked. I mean, last month, and even on the minutes, it talked about sending it to the planning commission and then having it come back this month for us to finalize it. And
I think
I'd kind of like to get that finalized instead of kicking it down.
I agree, but it's just with the planning commission right now, and they haven't met for the last 2 months. So as soon as they take it
Because
up,
they said that there wasn't anything on their agenda, and there's 2 items here that should have went from us to their agenda.
I agree. So we'll make sure that we get that on the planning commission agenda. I'll just think that that's where it's going to go as well.
Will it actually be heard next month?
I don't know why it wouldn't.
Well, it was supposed to be heard this month, and it wasn't.
Well, it needs to come from the planning commission first, according to our process.
Mayor, it's 2 months in a row that the planning commission hasn't met. And I think that Commissioner Hedrick is frustrated by the fact that the planning commission hasn't met and hasn't had time, hasn't seen fit to address this issue. It seems like if there's not a site plan to approve, they call off the meeting. That's not their only job. So
Agreed.
that's my opinion.
I agree. I'd like to see this at the planning commission as well. So we'll capture this in the minutes and we'll make sure that it's referred. Unless you want to put it on the agenda, Commissioner Hedrick, we can further discuss it, but I share your frustration on that.
I'd like to make a motion to put it on the agenda tonight and get it passed. If it has to come to us for final approval, I don't see why we can't go ahead and do that tonight.
City Manager, were we advised on the process that it has to go to the planning commission first?
That's the way I understood, and then they would send it in ordinance form to the board of commissioners. Because they would have to put the language that they're wanting to change in the zoning regulations ordinance.
Well, okay, so we talked about this in January or February, and it's July, so why is it not? Why are we still?
I think it should be on the planning commission agenda, and I'm happy to raise that with the planning commission chair and make sure it gets on the agenda for them to prepare the right words. There are three different zoning areas in B3, so I think they would need to figure out at least 3 different places if that's the intention, to put it in all 3. And I've said I'm supportive of putting residents back in there because it's really important to do everything we can, I think, to have resident population in Townsend. So if you'd like to have an item on our agenda tonight, I'm happy to add it, and we can conclude that we send it to the planning commission.
Yes, I make a motion to,
Okay?
if we can't finalize it tonight, make it, send it to planning commission, and then also make a motion to put it on our August agenda.
Okay, let's get a motion, let's put it on the agenda, and then when we discuss it, we can take a motion or resolution to send it to the planning commission and make it even stronger. Okay, can I have a second to add an item to our agenda, adding residences into,
I'll second.
okay, into the business zoning. Okay? All right,
Why
motion
don't
second.
you repeat the motion, so it's...
All districts. It needs to be, residents need to be included in all districts, but especially B1, because there's so many B1s.
Okay, now we're getting into the work of the planning commission. This is just a motion to discuss during our meeting tonight, having residents in the business zoning district.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so is that okay with the motion and the second?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll add that as our, under new business. We'll put that as number 3, under new business. Okay, Commissioners, with that modification to our agenda, I'd like to get a motion and a second to adopt our agenda and proceed with our work tonight. Can I get a motion to adopt our agenda with that amendment?
I make a motion to adopt the agenda for July 15th, 2025 with the sending the information to planning commission on adding residents back to B1.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of adopting our agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None are opposed. All right, first item on our agenda is take a look at the meeting minutes from our previous meeting on June the 17th. So, Commissioners, you guys have had a chance to take a look at these in advance. I know that there's some clarifications and revisions that have been put forward. City Manager, are there things that you take a note of in terms of things that we would like to change in our minutes?
I did get a couple of suggestions under the finance report. And before, whenever I originally sent it out, I had the motion passed unanimously.
Okay.
3 votes with 1 commissioner abstaining. Just took the word unanimously out, passed with 3 votes and 1 abstaining.
Okay.
And then under the information items from Commissioner, it was requested to have them come from Commissioner Hedrick, so those 4 items underneath that item, number 4,
Okay.
that was changed so that, to clarify who brought forward.
And then
Okay.
I've got a couple of questions or clarifications. Wait a minute. In our unfinished business, the second reading, if it was only printed in the paper for that reading, how's the first reading official if it wasn't published? Do we need to do a second reading on that since that was the first time that it was published? The items from Commissioner, and then number 4, the BZA members. Have we heard back from City Attorney about our secret ballot votes?
Okay, is this follow-up on these items, or is this some clarification?
Clarification questions, yeah.
Okay, so is it written, all we're voting on now, is this what happened at our meeting? We can follow up on it, but right now, we're voting on the minutes of the meeting, and the minutes are what happened. We can't change what happened. So either this is accurate or not. I'm happy to follow up on some of these items, but if what's written is not accurate, if you could just tell where it's not accurate, or if there's a question that would help us clarify the accuracy of what actually happened on June the 17th.
Would that be considered a second reading of the budget if you just published it before that reading?
I think we voted on the second reading of the budget on June the 17th. I think that's what happened.
Yes, that was the public hearing for the second reading. You're required by the state to have the budget numbers published in a local paper 10 days prior.
Okay,
And they were in the edition, I think, June 5th or something.
okay, and they published them
They
in the
were
paper.
at the deadline and they were on our website as well.
And they're on our website as well. But in terms of the minutes, what's written here looks accurate to me. Okay, Commissioners, any other questions or clarifications, revisions that we need to make to the minutes for accuracy? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of our meeting on June the 17th?
Make a motion to approve the minutes on June 17th.
Can I have a second? Okay, I'll second the motion to approve our minutes on June the 17th. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving our minutes for June the 17th, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I abstain.
Opposed?
Abstain, you weren't there.
Opposed.
And opposed. Well, that is 2 in favor, 1 abstention, and 1 opposed, so these minutes are not approved. What I would ask is that there's any clarification or accuracy. We've got the transcript, we've got the tape, we can go back and take a look at it. We will take a look at it and try to approve this on our next meeting. Disappointing. Okay, Commissioners, let's go to the next item on our agenda, and that is the finance report. So I'll ask City Manager to lead us through the finance report.
All right. For the operating statement, for revenues, we had budgeted for total income of $134,000. We fell short, came in at $128,000. Part of that is because we had budgeted $11,000 for miscellaneous revenue because we had a couple of donations last year. We fell short of that, so it's not too bad. You'll see overall we came out ahead. Moving on to page 2, for expenses, under city recorder, there was some for some city recorder training for leadership course and TGFOA conference that was coming up. Down under city hall operations, we had quite a bit for utilities and repair and maintenance. So we had our QuickBooks payroll subscription that's due every year, that's about $1,200. And then we also recently just started the email archiving service with GoDaddy, so that was about $700 prorated per year. On the page 3, nothing really out of the ordinary on that. We're either right at budget or under in most areas. Page 4, if you look down, we budgeted for net income of $4,779. We came in at $25,000, just short of $26,000 for the month, so still a good month. Any questions?
On the year-to-date and then the annual budget, it looks like all the numbers are equal,
On which part?
the year-to-date budget and then the annual budget.
It is the year-to-date budget, and then the line next to that, July 24th, what we've done until June, that's what we've actually done. So we've actually budgeted for like local sales tax, we budgeted to receive 963,000, we received 995,000, so far.
Okay, Commissioners, if there's no other questions, how about the Charter of Accounts?
In our general fund, we have about 611,000, street funds at 212,000. Drug fund is up a little bit because they did have a $750 donation, which is reflected in the revenues, so they're at 5,550. And accessibility fund is climbing to 1,700.
Okay. The Charter of Accounts or on the finance report. Can I get a motion to approve the finance report?
Make a motion to approve the finance report.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving the finance report, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Same.
Okay, that's 3 in favor and 1 abstention. Commissioner Hendrick. And finance report is approved. Okay, Commissioners, let's move on to the next item. The next item that we have is a report that I will make about the investigation of the state comptroller. And so, as you all know, we have been working very closely with the state comptroller's office, and recently they completed their work looking into irregularities by the former city manager. And so what I would share with you on that is that their report is complete and it's online, it's available to everyone. It was determined by the comptroller's office that there were some irregularities and also with respect to the city manager and also with some of the accounting types of operations that we were taking a look at. So we fully cooperated with that investigation. We concurred with the recommendations of the report, and the city immediately took actions to improve the oversight and reinforce procedures related to accounting and personnel practices. While we are disappointed with some of these previous actions, we remain committed to developing and implementing procedures and practices that will result in high levels of accountability and trust of our citizens. Further details about the investigation we would refer to the state comptroller's office, but I will tell you that we have put in place a number of measures since then to improve some of our accounting practices. And so there was some irregularities that were directly associated with the former city manager. You can see that in the report. I've also received some questions about some other funds in the amount of around $19,000. And my understanding of what that is that there was an inability by the comptroller's office to connect the receipts with the credit card statements. And so that was a failure of some of the previous accounting practices, but we have put in place measures where the receipts are being connected, and we did that immediately. So it's been over a year now that we've actually been working on that under that improved procedure. So it's unfortunate, but we did take care of it. I feel like we addressed it immediately as soon as it came to light, and this is the results of the comptroller's investigation. So Commissioners, if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer your questions.
I have a question. One of the statements towards the end of that report had to do with unauthorized use of city property by employees. what have we done in our personnel manual to make it clear that that's unacceptable and what the penalty is for violating that?
It's actually in our policy, that they're not to use public facilities, equipment, things like that, so we haven't had this issue before, so I don't know. Going forward, I would think we would follow disciplinary action.
So it's already in our policies, and we've made city staff aware.
So the policy requires a written warning that goes in their personnel file? That's a question.
I believe I have to look back and see if it's a verbal warning first and then written, that ultimately leading up to termination, the behavior doesn't.
My experience working is it gets documented in the personnel file, even if it's a verbal warning. Because it's a serious situation, not only for using city property for your own gain, but also because of insurance issues. It's really disturbing to me. But if city equipment's available for people, I'd like to sign up to use some of it.
Again, I think, as soon as this came to light, we took action and we let folks know that that's not acceptable practice, and we can continue to look at our personnel practices to make sure that they reinforce that idea. So it's a good point that you're raising, Mr. James. Other questions?
So let me ask a question about the 20,000. It's, that they weren't able to match this expenditure with this receipt, right? But the expenditure did occur. So did the expenditures get put into a record of our expenditures, or I guess I'm a little confused.
Yeah, my understanding is that there wasn't a requirement to provide the receipts associated with the use of the credit card and the store card. Those receipts provide some valuable documentation beyond what you might get on a credit card statement in terms of what was actually purchased and how it was used for the city. And so I don't think that there was any challenge, in terms of, I'll just say that the procedure wasn't in place to be able to connect those two things. I think that's the short of it. And since then, we have a procedure in place now that you have to provide your receipts. Just saying it's going to appear on the credit card statement is not sufficient. And so we've been working under that for, I guess, almost a year now, or over a year now.
Okay.
Townsend is a small city, and we're growing, and I think, some of these are things that we necessarily have to pay attention to. And of course, in the report, it says the Board of Commissioners is responsible for this. So you're right to ask these questions and to expect that we would have personnel practices and the things in our handbook that would correspond to that. So it is the oversight of the Board of Commissioners. So it's right to ask questions and to make sure that we've got the best policies and procedures we can have, so that we have the trust of our citizens. But we've been pretty transparent, I think, about it, and so it's unfortunate, but I think we tried to get on top of it and handle it in the right way, working with the state comptroller's office.
So how do we do it now? Do you review all the receipts and approve them?
As of now, I put all the receipts attached to the statement, and when the commissioners have been assigned, they look through and match the receipts to the charge.
Okay, that's all I have on that. I did have just a couple of more items under my report. I don't know if I get a chance to report, but I was going to report to you on the city manager recruitment. So in the first week of July, we launched a recruitment for a permanent city manager, and that recruitment went out in the newspaper, and I think on some various job boards and websites, and we've gotten a good response. So I think I've accreted 11 expressions of interest so far at this point. What I am reminded of is that the Board of Commissioners is actually the ones that select the city manager. And so I'm working with Angie Carrier at MTAS. She's our MTAS representative, and she will help us to do an initial screening of all the applications that we receive for the city manager. She'll ensure that they meet the minimum qualifications in the job announcement. And then we will come with probably some list of candidates, depending on how many make it through that process, and we'll develop a process for the Board of Commissioners to be able to engage with these candidates. So there are a few different options, and I would value your thoughts and opinion on how this might work. So one option is that the candidate could interview with all of us. And if we do that, then we would need to do that in a public forum much like this. Another option is if we could meet with them one by one, and you could set up something that looks sort of like a speed dating type thing where every commissioner would have an opportunity to meet with the final candidates. And so if you have thoughts about what you would like that process to look like, I would be happy to hear those thoughts and to make sure that we have a process that meets the expectations of the Board of Commissioners. And again, let me just also say that I'm getting advised by our MTAS representative who tells me she's done this with lots of small cities and municipalities, so I'll bring forward her recommendations to you as well. But I'm happy to hear any thoughts you have now.
I'll share my thoughts. I believe that the candidates should meet individually with each commissioner, just like you would in business. If you're going to hire a new engineer, he interviews with several departments, several people, and then they make the decision. So I can't see why they wouldn't do that here.
Okay. Other thoughts on the process? Okay. All right. Well, we'll continue to bring that forward to you as we work through this process. But again, just re-emphasizing it is the Board of Commissioners that selects the city manager ultimately. So you will have the ultimate decision, and we will try to make sure that we have a good process going forward through that recruitment. Next item.
When's the closing date on that?
July the 28th. July the 28th is the closing date. Thank you. So next item is we currently have a call out for expressions of interest for the BZA. So we have not received any expressions of interest. So just making note of that. We'll post it up again on our website that we do anticipate some vacancy in the BZA. And so we will reiterate our call for expressions of interest. And Commissioner Hedrick, you asked about follow-up on the item on our BZA selection from January the 3rd. And City Attorney is still continuing to look at that, how we executed that process, and he's going to come back to us with some any recommendations that he has on that. So that's still with the City Attorney. Okay, that's all from my report. I'll pause to see if commissioners have any questions before we move on to the interim city manager report. Okay, interim city manager.
All right, and you have a couple of papers laid out for you. One is the OCD. This is the proposed contract for the GovApp, which will be the app and website for the city. Can't hear me. They're willing to keep the price the same. You know, we've been talking about it for several months. The representative that I was working with is no longer there. He went to CTAS. But for the first year to develop the app and website, it'd be $9,985. They want a 3-year contract, so the 2 years after that would be $6,990. I think it would be beneficial to the city to have something like this and be able to update and have our website a little more user-friendly than what it is. We currently have line item budget in our fiscal 26 budget, which has been approved, by the way. We did get a letter from the comptroller for $26,850, so that would more than cover the initial first year cost for this. Just want your thoughts on that. We definitely need a motion to move forward to be able to spend it. The other thing is our IT person said that we need to update all the computers in City Hall. There's about 6 of them. We do have pricing for their the Emergency Communications District where they get theirs. So for 6 laptops, it'd be about $7,383. Again, we do have that budgeted for IT, or I may be able to roll it into capital. I'll have to check with our finance consultant to see if this would qualify for that. But that is something that we're definitely going to need. We'll be able to keep the monitors we have except for one over in the police department to replace an all-in-one unit that is currently over there. So just want you to look over both of these. If you're wanting to make a motion on either one, tonight you can, or we can move to August, but I'd like to have a vote no later than August on that.
Okay. City Manager, let me ask you to pause here just a moment. I'm going to check with the commissioners and see if they have enough information to move forward on either one of these. We've looked at this app a few times. We've looked at alternates to the app. I'm very much have top of mind some of the flooding and things that has happened over in Texas and the tragic loss of life there as a result of not being able to get notified. I am quite concerned. I think in terms of the risk that we have here in the city, flooding is one of the things that's top of mind for me. And so one of the benefits, I know we've been talking about this for a long time, would be to be able to notify people, to push out some sort of a notification in coordination with our emergency services. But commissioners, we've looked at this one, we've looked at others. Do you have enough information on this that you'd like to maybe be able to take action on it tonight, or do we need to gather more information?
I have one question. This price, does it expire July 31st? Is that, or, okay.
No, I talked to Jay Baxter, he's our rep. He's good. I told him it could be August before we get it approved, but he's not honoring the initial contract that Tyler provided. And if y'all had a chance, I know I mentioned a couple times the Gatlinburg has the app, has the website. Y'all go on there and kind of play around with it and see what it offers, to kind of see what ours would look like.
Commissioner Hendrick?
Yeah, a couple questions. So we originally budgeted $26,000 for this.
No, for our IT line item.
Okay.
Website support.
And
server updates.
this would be, take over the website support
Yes.
for that
Yes.
and make it easier to
Absolutely.
do things.
Yes.
So how much does that IT normally support?
Well, they're gonna build it and teach us how we can go in and edit information, but ultimately, any issues with the software, any updates, they will do, whereas right now I'm having to go in and do.
Okay. So we don't have an IT,
Dedicated for our website, no, not yet right now.
okay,
So, yeah.
okay.
Is there a written spec for this? I'm used to seeing the specification, got deliverables, have these things. And this is, I just don't see a whole lot of specs. Have you given that to me and I just misplaced it?
And this is the only thing that I've received.
I'd really like to see what we're getting for our money, if there's any suggestions we might have, especially in light of the flooding. We might want to, instead of just having an alert, we might want to have an alert that communicates with some equipment here in town that warns people. I just like to see what the specs are.
Okay.
what's
So
capable.
you're feeling like you need more information?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. What I would suggest then is, City Manager, if you can bring us back. I know we've had some additional discussions on this particular app. So if you could bring that back. And commissioners, if you have any specific questions, things you'd like to see, questions you'd like to have answered, maybe we can get that answered by our next meeting so that we can potentially take action.
Or, correct me if I'm wrong, we can go to the Gatlinburg app and we can see what we're actually getting.
Yeah.
And then Chief Stallions mentioned that, you know, if there was ever anything else, fire and everything else, that there would be additional alerts in addition to this.
Yes, the county has what they call the IPOS system, so the county emergency management agency that's will be used for evacuation only.
So anything in addition to maybe what you were asking about will be supplemented by the county?
And one of the things in Gatlinburg, their emergency system, I don't know how it all works, but they have 7 or 8 alarm horns located around town. Something, I assume it's the app, triggers those for different types of emergencies. So I'm curious if we're getting that kind of thing in here.
Do you know anything about it?
I don't think we're talking about sirens at this point.
Yeah.
But
I'd like to
that's
make
a
sure
whole-
the app's capable of interfacing with sirens if we decide to do something.
Yeah, I think
Because that's one of the shortcomings that they talk about in Texas.
right.
The people there was no warning by horns, and the city had asked for money from the state to do that, but never got the money, so they didn't do it.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable to think about how does this work together with what the county has. They need to be complementary and work together, and we need to understand it.
Yeah, and IPOS is completely separate. IPOS
Okay, so it's
is like
different.
FEMA, and they have, like, our EMA guys had to go with high intensive training to be able to use it because it's only allowed to use certain ways. It's the same system that Amber Alert comes over, so you can actually take over and they can pick cell towers and stuff. This will help us out with letting people know, because especially with wildland fires or any time that you have a disaster on the news, everybody gets on high alert. And so when we start seeing things like that happen in our area, that way we can communicate with people, let them know, hey, you're safe, or we're monitoring it, let them know what's going on instead of waiting until they get this alert and say, okay, go. So it would help us to put out what's going on, roads that are closed, evacuation routes. You know, the iPod is pretty much like what you get on your phone for, like I said, Amber Alert. This is 2 or 3 sentences, this is what happened. I think the app and the website is more communication. And I understand wanting to know more, but to your point about Texas, they kept kicking the can down the road, and it never got taken care of. So I want to make sure we don't get into that point. You know, the more tools that you give us to communicate to them what's going on, the safer the community is. And so that's why I'm in favor of this. We don't have time. The chief doesn't have time when an emergency hits to start jumping on Facebook and everybody knows what's going on. But if the city could come with an app and be able to communicate, here's what's going on, that would really, that's huge. That's a huge step for the community. Because to the floods, we had the same, now it's different than Texas, but we had the same terrain that they do. They had in Kentucky, the same terrain that they had last year on the other side of the mountain in upper East Tennessee. We also had the same exposure to wildland fires on the other side of the mountain. So we do have these exposures to natural disasters that unfortunately it's probably not, if, but when. So.
Thanks,
Do you-
Chief Simmons.
Do you know how the sirens work and what kind of equipment they would need to?
I think this is a first step. The sirens would be a separate system. I'm not super familiar with sirens. And I don't know, that's something we have to look is where we want to invest in. You know, so far, I mean, the weather's changing, knock on plastic, knock on wood. Our flood, just like what happened with the hurricane, we knew it was coming, right? It wasn't where in Texas you have a little bit different terrain, you have a little bit stronger flash floods. We kind of got a heads up things were coming. So I don't know the effectiveness of sirens, I guess is what I'm saying would be. And who's responsible for setting the sirens off? And so that's a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
I'd almost like to go ahead and make a motion to get this rolling and approve this and get that started and then look into the sirens and not let it set though, but go ahead and get that ball rolling as well.
Chief Conley?
Would you mind? So I've looked at this thing pretty extensively, and we're talking about the emergency services aspect of it, which is phenomenal way to get the word out. And the way this works is just citizens that wish to participate, they download the app on their phone, and they get an option to opt in for push notifications. And if you opt in, then you'll get these emergency notifications or any notifications that get sent out on the app, right? You can opt out if you don't want to be included, so that's up to the person. But what could be included at past emergency services issues like road closures or wildland fires, flooding, that sort of thing. In addition to that, we can also put out push notifications for reminders for meetings, for city meetings. It's not just an emergency services app, it's a citywide all-encompassing app that will link to the city website and give you all that information and all the documents and things that people want to look at on the city website. This new website, it'll make it a much more user-friendly platform for them to navigate. So I think for the money and for what you're getting, both the app and the website, it's an absolute yes. I mean, I think it's a great product, and I think it's for that amount of money, probably the best thing we've done for the residents here since I've been here for that amount of money. I think it's a really good positive thing for our citizens. So that's my take.
Yeah, thank you, Chief Conley, that's helpful. So now, I've got some folks that want to get more information, and it seems like I got some folks that are ready to make a motion to move ahead with this, so.
I'll stay with my motion
Okay.
to move ahead.
Motion to go ahead and move ahead with this contract with OCV for these services as described in this contract.
And then also start looking at the sirens, as Commissioner Jenkins.
Okay, so let's just keep the motion tight on this particular service. So I got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Now let's see if there's any further discussion. I would just say, we've been talking about this for a while. My initial concern on this is that this obligates the city for an ongoing cost. So every year, we're going to have $5,000, $6,000 and probably on up in our city budget to continue to support this. But I am persuaded, I think at this point, that this is something that we probably need. We've seen, Hurricane Helene and what happened to our neighbors on the other side. We've seen more recently what's happened in Texas, and a lot of time has gone by between those two events. I'm persuaded, I think, a little bit in favor of this. So, would anybody else like to comment?
It's just, I know last month or 2 months ago, there was another auction at Tech, the Tech, and it got voted down, so I think we need to go ahead and get this going.
Any other comments? Okay. All in favor of the motion to,
Can you tell what the motion, can you read it out? Tell us exactly what we're voting on?
yeah, the motion is to approve the contract proposal submitted by OCV LLC to provide a mobile app and website development for the city of Townsend, with the associated cost of $7,490 for the mobile app, $4,995 for the website development, and ongoing support for the website, $445.95, and ongoing support for the website, $24.95. that correct with the people that made the motion? And second?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner King. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay, the motion is approved. Highlighted the fact that we need, have appropriated budget to upgrade our computers. We might be able to tackle that one here. Let me just ask commissioners, do you feel like you have enough information on these computer upgrades that city manager was describing? We've got a description of a computer, we need 6 of them, and the pricing is $1,230.61 per unit. And we do have this money in our IT line budget. So does anybody need more information, or would you like to make a motion?
Do we have to farm it out for multiple bids, or since it's with the Blount County Emergency?
It's using their government sourcing, we don't have to.
Okay, so we don't have to have a process for that because it's kind of already been taken care of by the process that the county uses.
I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and approve to purchase the Slim Dell Pro Slim desktops.
Second?
Okay, any further discussion, questions?
I have a question. Do we always replace all 6 at once, or do we do 2 this year, 2 the next year, and 2 the next year? How's that work?
Well, this is the first time we've replaced any, other than the ones that quit working a couple of years ago, but he said all of them were at max for their storage, so it's not that big, they're about 6 years old.
I'm aware that some machines will not be suitable for the Windows 11 upgrade. I don't know, do we know if our machines, our current ones, does that would make us vulnerable to security?
Yeah, I believe that was one of the reasons as well, because they'll either have paid something by October, and how they can pay.
Because Windows 10 is no longer going to be supported after a certain period of time. And we need to have one that will be supported with security. Okay.
So these are all towers and not,
Yeah, all tower desktops. And of course, we're keeping the monitors, we'll only have to get one monitor. They're fairly expensive, get them on Amazon.
Okay, any further discussion? Got a motion on the table? First
second?
and second? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous.
Yes, I said, I tried to say aye, but you moved too quick for me to get it in.
Okay, all right, interim city manager, let's continue on with your report.
Okay, I'm still working on developing an ordinance for the hotel motel tax. I'm letting I contacted the state and sent over a couple of examples. One of them is from Oneida. They recently have done theirs, and they implemented a short-term rental policy, which I think we need to incorporate in the information we got at the CPAC meeting today. So I'm working on those, but just want to throw a few numbers out for you that he shared. The 2024 figures show that Townsend had 18,206,000 in total estimated lodging sales. That's including hotels, cabins, short-term rentals. Blount County has levied 5% occupancy tax on that, so they got around 900,000 just from Townsend. It's not including the rest of Blount County. We can levy up to a 3% tax because it's capped at 8 since they already have 5. If we levied a 1%, that would bring in another 182,000 annually. We levied a 2% at 364,000. Or if we went the max at 3%, it'd be about 546,000 a year. It does have to be used on tourism development. In speaking with them, they do believe that the specialty park would be a tourism draw because that would be the only public access to Little River in Townsend. So this may be a way to be able to fund the project for that. I'm joining a grant webinar tomorrow. Their grant it was delayed a little bit, it's supposed to happen at the beginning of July, but it didn't. It's a matching grant for tourism enhancement, which would also do that. It's matching, but they determine your commitment based upon your economic status. So I'm gonna, join that webinar, get some more information on that, and I'll report back at the next meeting. I think this is something we need to look at, but right now, I'm getting the ordinance together, and I'm gonna send it to Will, send it to Angie. Hope to have, at least a rough draft at the next meeting for that.
What's tourism development? Is fire department, since they are support?
We could help if they wanted to do the fireworks show bigger, possibly, because that would be considered a tourism draw. If we wanted to develop, bring back Old Timers Day, what it used to be, city sponsored, we could do that. Upgrades to the park, that would be a tourism draw. Bike trail signage, a lot of those old historic signs need to be replaced. You know, they're getting kind of old and cloudy. We can also help local nonprofits, such as the Railroad Museum, with events that they do at Old Heritage Center, things like that. Bike trail maintenance, because that is a big draw, tourism here, so those types of things. And then there's an annual report that you have to fill out each municipality that gets the tax. You have to account for every penny to the state.
But not necessarily for the fire department to get equipment or stuff like that, or is that also put that with the camera?
It has to be
It'd be
direct
nice.
for tourism. So if we wanted to do this, I mean, and these are a number of things that we currently try to pay for, if we can, out of our city budget. And so if they would fit under the definition of tourism, then there would be a rationale for collecting this additional occupancy tax. So,
And you would just need to determine what percent you want to levy. You can do a half or a 1/4% as well. Maryville and Alcoa could each do 1%. I think Sweetwater just raised theirs a 1/4%. They were at 2 1/4 or 2 3/4, and they went up to 3.
so a lot to consider, but I
Yeah.
think we appreciate you researching this, and you'll continue to develop it and come back to us.
Yeah, as soon as I get the ordinance completed and get it to Will and Angie for their approval, I'll send it on to y'all for review. So, just a couple of things to mention to your administration and whatnot. As I mentioned, the budget did pass. We got the letter from the comptroller. The 2025, the budget amendment that we had on the meeting last month, it's not on there this month. I did call our financial analyst at the comptroller's office, Mr. Wood, and sent him the amendment, had him look over it. He didn't see anything that would raise a red flag with him. He did understand that, a couple of the invoices were not received until after the May meeting, so there was no time to appropriate money. He said, the rule of thumb is to amend before you spend, but he said this would not raise a red flag with him. But as of right now, since the fiscal year's over, it'll just be handled in the audit process. So we may get a ding or may not. He said it just depends on our auditor. I also had a conversation with Seth May at the Office of Open Records Council. We had some questions about providing material prior to the meeting, as far as printing out our meeting material packets. We are not required to do that by state law. We're not required to post them. The only thing that we are required to post is the agenda. One thing I found interesting is we're not even required to print the agendas and hand them out, like we do. They're just supposed to be posted. But if somebody did request them, we're required to provide them at no cost. I'm working on an email policy. The one we have just kind of centers on employees for their email use and computer monitoring. So I've reached out to Angie Carrier. She's looking into one for commissioners, planning commissioners, other board members. So whenever I get that, I'll get back with you. I did reach out to our email domain, and it's about $43 per email per month. So to add 10 more to give planning commissioners, for 2 years, that's going to be about $1,029.90. And then we have to email archive that, so it's $5 a month per email line to do that. But whenever reached out to Whitney. I checked back up with her last time on the workshop for the lease agreement. Y'all wanted to have a workshop with you guys and them. She said that they are going through some leadership changes, so she tried to get everybody on board. I talked to her last week. She's still working on getting a date, so as soon as I hear from her, I'll reach out to you. And I have reached out to the people that put the gutters on this side of City Hall, and they're going to come out and give us an estimate for the and the rest of City Hall. So as soon as I get that, hopefully I have it on August meeting.
Okay, well, no, that's a lot of things to follow up on. Of course, we're always looking for an opportunity to make our processes and procedures better. I think the investigation by the State Comptroller's Office has really put a fine point on that for us, that we need to have and pay attention to the best, most up-to-date processes and procedures. We're working very closely with the State Comptroller's Office, with our city attorney, with our MTAS advisor to make sure that we're following all the correct procedures and we have the best information available for commissioners and for our citizens. City Manager, I also recall we had some questions about signing up to speak.
We did. There's a state statute, I have it written down, about requiring people to sign prior to the meeting. We don't require them to like send out 3 or 4 days ahead of time, just as long as you sign it before you come. But TCA 844-112, the state gives the municipalities authorized, to require people to sign up.
Okay, well, thank you for that good report and for all those follow-up items. Commissioners, any questions for interim city manager on any of those? Okay, moving right along, let's go to the next item on our agenda, which is the police report. Chief Conley.
Don't have a lot, just business as usual, very busy, a lot of traffic. We've got, coming up real soon, here in just a few weeks, we'll have the Hot Air Balloon Festival, and the following weekend, we'll have for a few days, three days I think, the event, the actual main event, I guess, is the Pigeon Forge, is the Jeep invasion, or takeover, whatever they call it, and so we'll have 3 days or so of a pretty sizable amount of Jeep folks in town. So we'll be adding, coordinating with them and trying to, add a sufficient number of officers to deal with that as best we can. It's always a challenge, but due to a few factors, location being the main one, but we'll do the best we can with that. That's what's coming up, and but like I said, otherwise it's business as usual, and everything's going okay.
Okay, well, thanks, Chief, and thanks to all the officers that worked the 4th of July event. I saw it looked like nearly everybody was out there, so we're grateful for that. And I know we're going to hear a little bit more about our 4th of July celebration, hopefully as part of the fire department report. Commissioners, any questions for Chief Condi before we move to the fire department report?
Just a general question, when you're talking with hot air balloon, I know whenever the partnership signed their agreement, they mentioned having a quarterly meeting. Has one of those happened yet?
We have not scheduled one of those to my knowledge, but we need to schedule one because it's been about 1 quarter since we signed that agreement.
I've had a meeting with them about the balloon festival specifically, but that's not it.
Yeah, because that was something that was in there. And then I guess one thing that I like to bring up, I had for the past festivals that we've already had, they mentioned noise. So that's something that we still need to discuss is noise.
Yeah, I think the noise ordinance is something that's still on our to-do list and moving toward something where it's content neutral, something that we can measure. Noise might be
That was on our workshop in January too.
on the list too. I'll just say we have been occupied with quite a number of other issues over the past several months that weren't anticipated when we were having that workshop in January. So I think we need to get back to doing the work of the citizens and not be distracted by some of this other stuff that comes about. So thank you, Commissioner Hitter. Okay, with that, let's move on to the fire department report. Chief Stallion.
Yeah, kind of echo Chief Conn there, kind of business as usual. Everybody's doing well. Runs are up. It can be up every year, but everybody's doing a good job. Appreciate all the help. Again, I always say this, appreciate everything from the police department. I mean, they've got our backs and are usually in there with us and picking pins, and we really appreciate that. It means a lot, especially sometimes we have some addresses that are a little bit shaky, I could say, and it's always nice to have the backup and know you all are there, so we really appreciate that. 4th of July, I wasn't there, I was coming back from a trip, but all the reports I got on it went really well. Just want to appreciate everybody, you know, that is a true community event. The hitters, Don and Sandy, they contribute a lot. The city does, we've had other donations, you know, it's really cool. It's a really cool event to watch the community come together and just celebrate the independence of our country, and you know, that's what America's all about. Watch those families, those kids playing, having a good time, and enjoying the freedom. It's an amazing thing. It makes you proud of the town and proud of the people, because when we all work together, cool things happen, and that's a cool thing. So thanks to the city. Don and Sandy, thank y'all so much for what y'all do. Let's have us on your property, and the financial help, and police, and I mean, just everybody. It's just really, really good thing.
Thank you, Chief Stallion. I'll just say it was a tremendous community event.
I want to thank Highland Manor, and normally we have to cut into the budget for fireworks to pay for entertainment, and they paid for the entertainment this year, so we were able to use all the money for fireworks. So thank you all so much for your generosity.
Sincere thanks, Don and Sandy, Highland Manor. Really appreciate that. It was an excellent event, and I think appreciated by our community. Commissioners, any questions on the fire report?
I have one question. How many people did we actually get through fire school that didn't go out because of the toughness and the vigorousness of it?
Have you got that yet, or still calculating on that?
Everybody that was at the last class will get a certificate.
Okay.
How many was that, Tim?
That was a total of 6.
6, thank you.
And then thank you for doing that. I mean, that's another community thing. I've said it before, but to have a state certified instructor be able to put our crew through where they don't have to go out of town, we don't have to bring somebody in and pay, it was excellent. So thank you. And it took a lot of your time and a lot of effort, and we really appreciate that.
Shout out to Mr. Ogle.
Yeah.
Chief Conn.
I'm sorry, the fireworks is pertaining to the fireworks thing. I just want to ask you guys if this year we blocked off Chestnut Hill at the 321 and then up past Highland Manor at the end, kind of blocked that off to vehicles, so it'd be pedestrian only. Did anybody get any complaints about that, us doing that? It seemed, I thought, to be a good thing and made it a lot safer for all the people walking back and forth. I just wondered if anybody complained or registered any complaints with you guys. So, okay, that's good. Thanks.
Okay, Commissioners, let's move on to the maintenance report. Commissioner Martin.
I have nothing at this moment to report. Everything is going as normal. I think Jason has talked to TDOT. Do you want to share that?
Yeah,
Mr. Jones?
I spoke with TDOT and still waiting on them to stripe the roads. They don't know when. This is a waiting process. And the school's on, it's still there, so they don't know, they can't give me an answer to wait game until we get it. Other than that, everything's good, everything's going good. Appreciate the canopies are working well. So.
Nice to have those little shades out there when you're having.
I have a couple of questions. Back in the residential area, there are still these big orange warning signs that say construction ahead. Are those, who's responsible for removing those?
That's TDOT.
Okay.
Yeah, they're going, as soon as they still have a checklist to come back and do. And
Okay,
once that checklist is done, all that'll be removed.
okay, all right. Second question, streetlights getting put back up on the electrical poles. Are they gonna get put back up anytime soon?
I
I don't know, I can,
don't have an answer. We can
No, I
find out.
And the follow-up to that is, at Depot Avenue, there's a new street light, but it's pointing towards the guy's parking lot, not towards the intersection. It makes me wonder about the street lights. That's what brought the whole thing up. And then I started looking around, and I noticed there's almost none now.
Well, we'll follow up on that.
Okay.
So, that's the maintenance, so Commissioner of Streets and Maintenance, follow up on that.
And I don't know if this would be a privilege utility thing or not. Construction in the curves. When you're done for the day, flagger ahead, be prepared to stop ahead. All those flags need to be covered or taken down because there's the evenings and you go through there and it says flagger ahead. And at the end of the day, they need to be covered or removed.
Okay, we can give some feedback on that as well. Signs in the curves. Okay. I'll just remark that it looks like they're making good progress through there. It's been kind of interesting to see that great big digger machine that they have that makes a trench, a big trencher, and laying down that water line. That water line is going to help us so much. But it also reminds me of something that there's going to be an effort to put additional electric poles going through that. And so, and associated with that, you'll recall that Sevier County Electric came and talked to us about that. There's going to be quite a number of trees that will be taken down. So just a reminder that we're not done seeing all the work through the curbs yet.
Do they have an estimated time frame for that? Because you said that the repaving would be after those poles got put in, and it's a little rough.
Yeah, they, I can't remember what the time frame was. They provided us with a fact sheet, and I think that the time frame might be on the fact sheet. It was going to take a
I know they were going to start at Townsend and work their way to the curves, so.
right.
they
So,
might have to check back.
and I haven't seen the poles go up to the other end of the city yet. So, okay. But maybe we can follow up with Sevier Electric and see what their timeline is looking like. Okay, any other questions, streets and maintenance? Okay, let's move on to building and codes report. Mr. Blair is not here tonight.
He is not here, he had a conference to go to, but he sent me a couple things. He has 31 open permits at the moment. He's issued 3 certificate of occupancies, and he reported that Fremont Lodge has finished all their renovations.
Okay. And we also have a codes report. Mr. Ogle?
Not a lot to report this time. Picking up a few signs, different types, realty signs, yard sale signs, and just talking to people. A few lights, flashing lights and things through town that I've had to stop and talk to different places about. Other than that, that's about it.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Ogle? Anything for Mr. Blair we can follow up? Okay, let's move on to the recreation report. Commissioner Satterfield is not with us tonight, but she has sent a report. And let's see, let me read out some of her report. Expressions of interest are still open for anyone who lives in Townsend that has an interest in serving on Parks and Rec Board. Tammy Gladdy had to resign due to work traveling commitments, and we now have 3 seats to fill in August instead of just 2 seats. One of those seats must be filled by someone in the city limits. The other 2 seats do not have to live in the city limits, but they can. But must have 37882 zip code. As we get applications, we'll forward them to all for review, and we know of anyone that would be interested, if they can get a form, expressions of interest form from the city manager. The deadline for this call for expressions of interest for Parks and Rec is July the 31st. Next item, board member Mina Oldham and Commissioner Satterfield have met with the new Townsend Elementary School principal, Ashley Ivins, and watershed scientist from Blount County Soil and Erosion, Julie Conkle, at the park on Mountain Avenue. We've all expressed a strong desire to clear a path from the school to the park so that teachers and students could utilize the park for learning purposes. Mrs. Ivins is willing to discuss the topic with the school board director, and Julie, who also works at Maryville College, has shown a huge potential and a positive relationship with the school and the city to offer access for students and teachers. Julie has done this with multiple schools and towns and would even consider using her own students at Maryville College to help get our pond ecosystem where it needs to be. There's a lot of positive potential in offering the park to the school for access to outdoor learning. Outdoor classrooms have become well-known and received for learning. Ideally, Mrs. Ivins would like for Julie to teach teachers on how to instruct in an outdoor learning environment and provide the tools necessary. And Mrs. Ivins would also ideally like for her teachers to do one outdoor lesson per quarter at the park. The vision would be to see naturescapes similar to the Riverwalk and a flourishing environment where the school residents would want to come, while also being mindful of neighbors and keeping peaceful, serene atmosphere of the park. They talked about planting certain types of flowers and pollinator gardens to attract more dragonflies, which would also in turn take care of some of the mosquito problem. They talked about planting things that would create a safe barrier for erosion control and be helpful for wildlife. Things of that nature is what Julie is expert in. Pond also has lots of signs of life in it. Therefore, Julie believes we're not far off from having a healthy pond environment that would not only beautify the park, but allow learning opportunities at low cost for Parks and Rec budget. City manager has also spoken with our insurance rep and would require an agreement between the school and the city. Mrs. Ivins is going to find out more about the students leaving school property to the park. While it's only next door, it would be considered a field trip, and see if permission slips from the guardians would be needed and signed each time they go. And that's all for that item. Last item, I have a couple of folks expressed to me that they would like to see dog waste stations along the bike trail, mostly from the river walk to the covered bridge on both sides. The cheapest we found so far is Amazon, $170 a piece. Also realize it would be extra responsibility for our maintenance department, but maybe 3 to 4 stations might be possible. So that's a report from Parks and Rec. Commissioner Satterfield to follow up on. Okay. Moving right along to the next item, community plan update. Mr. Hope.
I feel like I'm almost on the stage. I don't know if
You can move it.
there you go. I can see it all now. Had a good meeting earlier, 5 o'clock. We are starting to assemble the document and starting to bits and pieces here and there. We'll know more a little bit in August. It looks like we're making quite a bit of headway. I believe we'll start seeing by September. We'll start seeing exactly the next couple months here exactly where we need to be.
Good.
That's kind of all I got.
And we got a preview of the Parks and Rec master plan, some of the elements that will go into the Parks and Rec master
I
plan,
got that.
and also good discussion on short-term rental data.
Yes, really, that was really eye-opening, really good information.
Can you share it? Can you tell us?
If I remember, I don't remember. I do believe, though, that presentation, I'll have to look, you're on that email. You're
Yeah,
on with a presentation there, we could probably post that.
probably.
Yeah.
Just a couple of things that stuck out was the amount of short-term rentals. They have the whole listing, there's about 168,
500 and something in the 37882.
about 150 They
in the
don't want
city limits.
Is that a short-term rental?
Yeah, short-term, designated. So they picked this information up, the consultant picked it up on our website between Airbnb and VRBO. It doesn't give, Airbnb doesn't give the exact address, but it kind of gives a location. They just overlaid it.
That's probably 151, because I just did a business permit for one.
Yeah, there you go.
That's,
And they said it's up, I believe, since 2020, short-term rentals were up 14%. I believe, yeah.
So I believe the CPAC meetings are recorded, and so they will be posted onto the website. So
On our
anybody
YouTube channel.
that wasn't able to attend, certainly encourage you to go to the website, and you can listen to all the CPAC meetings.
This is one you want to listen to. It's a lot of good information.
I have one question.
Yeah.
When can I expect to get the new book?
Well, I tell you what,
We did in
I know.
2010.
I know. I'm with you, Commissioner. My understanding is with our Gantt chart, our scheduling with East Tennessee Development District, that was September. We are going to be communicating with them again this week. I believe the mayor had a couple meetings along with Mr. Talley with East Tennessee Development District. So we are leaning in pretty hard as far
I can
as,
schedule reading at the end of September.
I will bring a printed document to your house personally.
Okay, I look forward to it.
Hold me to it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next up, we have public input for items on the agenda. Remember, there are two opportunities for public input. Once we conclude our business, we'll have another opportunity for public input for items not on the agenda, but this is the time for anybody to comment on any of the items that are on the agenda. Do we have anyone signed up to speak?
Jeff, did you want to speak now?
Yeah, I guess my item's on the agenda. Jeff Riddle, 134 Myers Road. This is two items. First, real quick, on your city manager interviews. If you end up doing like Pat does, individual, you could, and it may be way overkill, you could do a public session. We would do that at the university. And but the issue I wanted to talk about was, and I was gonna come to the planning commission meeting, but because I thought that this item, houses in B1 is an item, since our house, and I'm only speaking for me and my wife, not speaking for any other houses in B1. So since it's not a planning commission, didn't meet, I couldn't say anything, so and I won't be able to be here in August for any city meetings. We'll be out for 3 weeks, so I'm talking now. So I'm a little frustrated that the item's a simple item, hasn't been just taken care of. Because I think I've mentioned it 2 or 3 times. Mayor, you were in attendance. So one thing I found out, so in your zoning ordinance, there's a non-conforming use, and I may be not reading it right, but I think we would be right now, houses in B1 is non-conforming. And it says if there's a disaster, if there's more than 50% property value damage, you can't rebuild. And so right now, houses in B1 can't be rebuilt. And I know the chances of that happening, or maybe the chances of a flood happening. But right now, and I hope I'm wrong, but anyway, that's the way I see it. So at the planning commission meeting, what if they don't want to take this up? What if they don't even vote on it? Does that mean y'all will never be able to have say?
Well, typically, if we ask the planning commission to take something up, they will take it up.
Typically, but I'm just saying, I'm not saying they will or they won't, but they do recommendations, right? They can say, no, we don't want houses in B1, we want to keep it like it is, and again, I'm not saying they will. That's a recommendation that you can still vote on it, correct?
I believe that's correct.
That's correct. Okay. But I won't be here in August, so I'm hoping when I get back that this will be taken care of. And hopefully, one more thing, and I know Becky has some other issues with D3, at least don't get bogged down, don't let them get bogged down into making this a whole big issue, just at least the minimal, take care of existing houses in B1. Because like there's 12 houses around us, and I don't think any of them want to move. And none of them, I think, are short-term rentals.
Thank you. Well noted.
Mary Kay, I was just curious, I mean, it's a question. Can I ask a question and get an answer?
Give it a try. Sure.
Use the microphone.
I can do that. Just didn't know if I could get an answer to questions. But just for my understanding, why do, and I'm not being critical, just understand, why do we need a city manager instead of maybe, and this is probably the incorrect term, 2 executive secretaries? Because it doesn't look like the city manager has been, had any overseeing, and that's part of why we've had the issues we have. You have a full-time job, and the city manager would be under you or under all the commissioners, and so nobody was paying attention or something happened. So why would we need a person that could do what was done if no one has the time to oversee them? Why would, and it costs a lot more, doesn't it, than executive, incorrect term, secretaries? So what's the point, the purpose? I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, and it's a good question, and one that I think the Board of Commissioners has really contemplated, because we did look to see the history of this, and I'll try to keep it short, is that we had a city recorder for a long time. We didn't have a city manager. Commissioner Jenkins, you help me with this now. And then it became apparent that there were more functions that the city needed. And so it was decided to create a city manager position, full-time staff, because we're all part-time, a full-time city manager and a city recorder. And so we've had some discussions in our meetings about, I think maybe 2 meetings ago, we talked about different models. This was in the context of the budget. Do we want to try to consolidate those positions? Do we need to keep those positions separate? And there are a lot of demands on the city manager. And so the city manager is in charge of all the city staff and has a significant role there. I'm not sure, in my mind, I'm not speaking for any other commissioners, that an executive secretary necessarily could take a look at that. But there are different models, but we have had some discussion about this, and it was determined that we wanted to move forward with a city manager and a city recorder. And that's what we approved in our budget.
I'm just wondering, if you had 2 the same level, and they watched each other and helped each other instead of a boss that did what he wanted, and then someone below him that couldn't tell him he shouldn't be doing that. And maybe that's a better setup. And as you said, we are a small town, and this is an expense, and this is kind of an embarrassment to the city for what has happened, in my opinion, with the city manager. I find it embarrassing that it was allowed to happen, but that's all. That's all. I just want to understand.
Thank you for that reflection. I've heard it said that criticism is a gift. And so we need to look at every opportunity to get better. And so when I was sitting in the audience, just like many of you, some of these thoughts crossed my mind in terms of what are the practices and procedures that might be helpful to update in the city. And so part of the reason why I wanted to come on this board was to be able to help advance the city. And I think there is a need, as we've painfully demonstrated. But this board does have oversight, and I think we are taking steps to try to make sure that we've got good oversight, and that requires good processes and procedures. So I think we're taking steps in that
Can
direction.
can I make some comments about it?
Yes, sir.
You know, having a poor city manager has casted a shadow over the need for a good city manager. A good city manager would be the face of Townsend. They would be going to every thing that needs somebody from Townsend to go to. They'd be introducing the new commissioners when you get elected to go, because like TDOT or wherever, they would be responsible for supervising every city employee. They'd be responsible for providing performance reviews, budgets. I mean, a good city manager would be worth the money. A poor city manager is a waste of money.
Well, I think we need to make sure that we've got the functions right. I agree with you. And if you look in the job description, I think you all had a chance to weigh in on that job description. I think we've got the functions right. Now we need to make sure that we've got the right person and that they actually do the job. You can have a great job description, but if the job isn't getting done by the person, then you don't have a good result. And so our job as a board of commissioners is to do our best to try to make sure that happens. So I'm looking forward to that process. Anyone else signed up to speak?
Mike Aker.
Thank you. I wanted to offer kudos on taking action on the app. I think that's a big deal. Wanted to say I like seeing the parliamentarian on your agenda because it's very needed. I also wanted to say kudos on the consideration of being a tourism authority. That could be a significant source of additional income if it's possible to be done with Blount County already having one. That's a wonderful thing. Those are my good sides that I wanted to talk about. Now I want to say it's absolutely absurd to pay a city attorney from public funds if it takes months to determine a specific listing in Tennessee Code Annotated 8-44-104B. That's on your record now that you can look it up, concerning secret ballots being prohibited, and going further to make all actions resulting from such null and void in Tennessee 8-44-105. If your attorney can't read that and determine what you did was illegal, you need to find another attorney. You're wasting public funds. Never, ever, ever should you all engage in spending public funds prior to them being appropriated. We did that. We had an amendment about it last month, and it is not legal. We fixed it somehow without the amendment. We just mentioned that we might find an audit report. Now, there's a couple of ways that y'all can solve that problem with these, and I'm going to try to share them with you right quick. The first of which is you can have a called meeting for any urgent expense. If it's something that's got to be paid right now, y'all just need to have a called meeting and make it happen. But if you don't want to do that, you can do what I did for Blount County school system and create a contingency fund that you appropriate in your budget, or a budget amendment that puts money in the fund that can be spent in such an urgent situation that you don't have time to come to the meeting, and then be replenished when it is presented to the commission for what it was spent for. It won't increase your overall budget by a dime, but it does give you an opportunity to make things legal with these. The questions concerning having to sign up for the meeting had absolutely nothing to do with whether or not it's legal to require that. The questions were, do you have a city ordinance? There's no question that a municipality can make such a rule. But if you all don't have such a rule, it's a decree by an individual rather than a rule. So I would encourage you, if that's what you want, to make the rule rather than it being a decree. About the planning meetings being skipped, most of us in here know why they were skipped. But the requirement for the B1 move that you're talking about doing with residents does not have to initiate from the planning commission. It can initiate from you, and probably should, since it's been going on so long. And then whether they do or whether they don't agree with you, you can still do it on your own accord. It's your final authority, not theirs. So that's what I've got to say about that. And again, I want to congratulate you all on what you did by putting the app on there tonight. I think that was a really, really big positive move. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And if you haven't noticed, my house is almost up in the air.
Thank you, Mr. Draper. Anyone else signed up to speak? Okay, sounds good. Commissioners, let's proceed to new business. We've got a special event application here for Smoky Mountain Nationals. It's for next May 28th through 30th, 2026. And the location will be 7814 East Lamar Alexander Parkway. That's John McMahon and his family's property. And organizer is Dave Pope. So let me see what else I can tell you about this special event application. This is the event that's been hosted at the Tally Ho and has resulted in a lot of benefit for our community. It is an event of 1947 to 1955 GM trucks. It will span 3 days, and it will be a small public address system, maybe about 5 vendors of foods and beverages, and I think those are most of the highlights. Mr. Hope, you want to tell us anything about your event? I think we're familiar with it.
It is going to be at the Peaceful Haven Event Center. So it has a name.
Okay.
Well, what I can tell you about the event is it's growing tremendously. You can obviously have seen or heard or whatever, how we're doing. We're continuing. We brought in more volunteer staff. We probably have approximately 25 to 30 volunteers helping us park, helping us with the different events, moving people in and out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The bulk of what is happening is what I kind of hoped would happen is more people are coming in for the whole week. We're not just getting the Friday, Saturday crowd or the Thursday, Friday, Saturday crowd. We are helping people with accommodations and camping and trying to sprawl out across the whole 2 miles of Townsend. So we're backing away from we're not a show. We have the food vendors, obviously, but we don't have manufacturer vendors coming to sell their wares or anything. We make more space for the vehicles and like we say, our stickers, the trucks are just a bonus. The fellowship is the most important thing for us. So like I said, we're growing. We're expecting, even in the rain, we had 300. We're expecting close to 400. So moving to McMahon's property will help us tremendously.
Okay, thank you for introducing that event to us. May I get a motion and a second so we get this up for discussion?
I just want to share, I have walked around, talked to your people that were there at the truck show, and everybody was talking about how wonderful it is and how it's so family oriented, and they love being here in Townsend. So thank you so much, and I would like to make a motion to approve the Smoky Mountain National structure.
Okay, can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Further discussion on this? Any questions for Mr. Hope? It's an event that we've been familiar with the last several years, 5 years.
This will be our fifth time.
This will be the 5th year. Chief Condi, any problems with this event?
No, I've not had any issues or heard any negative comments at all that I've heard. Everything I've heard has been positive, and so it seems to be a really nice event.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions just from talking to people. Sometimes you go to the social to have something one night, or
Every
the
Friday.
Abbey, or something like that.
Thursday at the Abbey and Friday at the social.
So, people have asked me, do they need to put that down, list this down here
I
on that?
think it's on there, is it not?
As part of the event, you know?
Yeah, so it's not I think the.
Just spanning over 3 days at various locations.
There's, okay, yeah, so maybe that's kind of the way it's shared. The goal for that, obviously, the Abbey's a big sponsor, and the Peaceful Side's a sponsor, but also the other sponsors that get into is like TC Environmental and a lot of locals. Ace Hardware will be on this year and stuff. So that goal is to say, hey, we're gonna go have dinner at the Abbey, say for example.
I guess my question is, do we need to list, Thursday night will be here, Friday night will be here, and then
Yeah,
we'll be
but-
at this location on the
Yeah,
other
but then
days?
there's a lot of, we're gonna go cruise the parkway here, and there's a group going over there. It's a pretty complicated agenda. So it's not a show where people just show up. I mean, there's a little bit on the Saturday for that.
But
it's
the main event where people will localize is on the
on the
McMahon
McMahon's property.
property
Yeah.
for those 3 days. And then they might do other stuff in town, some of them might go to the Abbey, some of them might go, but they don't all go.
No.
Everybody
Actually,
doesn't go.
since what we're doing now, coming in this year, is like we used to do, like we're doing with the hotels and the camping accommodations. We're spreading it out. We're building lines of communication with Tremont and Highland and all those to make sure that they're full. Well, we're doing the same thing with the restaurants too, because we obviously, like at the Abbey, you get 70 trucks in there and then you're pretty much done. So we're giving people options to go to other restaurants, and you'll see like Friday night, obviously Peaceful Side has enough parking, and they also hire extra staff and stuff too to accommodate. But a lot of people move and go.
That's just going to a restaurant, and the
That's all.
restaurant has a fixed capacity.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're not gonna include where they stay in the hotels and those
Yeah.
hotels and things like that.
But our agenda's pretty much been that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like that. If that answers your question.
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay. Mr. Henry?
I'll make a comment.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Dave and his group for bringing his cars down to the Railroad Museum to learn about our history down there. And they made a very kind donation to us.
Thank you very much.
Matter of fact,
Chief Stelling.
Peter's on top of the hill working really well, and it was paid for by their event, about below $10,000 radio repeaters, so we have communication. It was rough on us there, not having it for a while. It's up and running and working well, so thank you.
Thank you very much. It's nice to see you eventually get back to the community. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Hope? All in favor of approving this application, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, is that unanimous? Okay. Move on to the next item. Board of Commissioners to serve as parliamentarian to ensure meetings are conducted fairly and by following Robert's Rules of Order for meeting proceedings. So, City Manager, you sent quite a lot of information. You want to provide an introduction to this item, and I've got a few thoughts to share on this as well.
Okay. Well, I sent a link in the email, but I think printed everything out for your packets. It's just some basics from in-house, where they had offered a class a few years ago, just on some of the basic meeting protocol. So, reached out, there are only 2 parliamentarians that I know that are certified. One is the executive director of EPAS, and one is the senior reporter for Knoxville. I don't know that they would like to come in and do any paid training, but we do have resources, and I can get the most recent additional, I'll order those for each meeting.
I think it would be useful, just like we have portfolios for the different commissioners for streets and maintenance, or commissioners serve on planning commission, or parks and rec. I think it would be useful if we added something to our city charter for a parliamentarian. It's a role that we need each and every meeting. And if one of our number could become an expert or help facilitate our use of Robert's Rules, which is mentioned in our municipal code, I think that would really go a long ways toward making something that will make our meetings better in a sustainable way going forward. I recognize it would take a little bit of time, but I would like to bring forward next month some language that would make that more formal and put it in our city charter. That we would establish a parliamentarian along with other roles when we establish a new commission. And of course, in between commissions, we might need to do, get somebody in that role right away. Comments or feedback on that?
I'm a little, I think every commissioner's got the responsibility to study Robert's Rules of Order. That's in our charter, that's going to control the meeting. And these 5 people control the meeting. It seems to me that a lot of home study is really what's needed. I don't see the need for having somebody named parliamentarian. I just don't see it. I see homework much better.
Well, I have seen this role in action. I've watched some videos and been to some meetings where they do have a parliamentarian. Generally, they're organizations that are larger in size than ours. But it does seem to be valuable because there are some nuances, and periodically people will question, well, did you follow this particular provision or not? We've run into some of that. And so having somebody that takes responsibility for that, I think would be beneficial. But I see your point, Commissioner James. So, any other feedback?
The only thing I have is I believe in order to change the charter, that would have to be done at the state level.
Oh, okay, so we change our municipal code. That's where, sorry, misspoke. Municipal code. It's not easy. Sometimes it takes a team to sort of, run these meetings and make sure that we're following the right processes, procedures, making the right references. And so I think to the extent we can help each other out, we'll all have better meetings for our citizens. Commissioners, anything else that you all would like to discuss on the parliamentarian? Okay, let's go on to the next item on new business is the one that we added, residences and B1.
Should that be an unfinished business? We already talked about it.
We can put it in unfinished business. Okay. And since that's the next item, let's have it under unfinished business, residences and B1. Now, we did talk about this in our workshop back in January, so Commissioner Hedrick is right to recall that. And I think there is some support for doing this. We do have 3 business zones at this time that could be considered. I heard it said earlier in this meeting that we need to make sure it goes in all 3 business zones. I've heard it said that it's most important in B1. B2 is neighborhood business district, so residents is already allowed there. And B2. B3 is the highway business district. So this is the place where we're trying to have those intensive uses, and those are the types of uses there. We don't have so many in the B3. But my sense is that the best, role for this is to actually let the Planning Commission take a look at it. I'm disappointed that it hasn't appeared on their agenda. They haven't been on it already. But welcome any other thoughts on this.
There was some meeting several months ago that I talked to Mr. Kelly about it, and he said, yes, it was a great idea that we need to do it. And it just hasn't been done, so it needs to be done.
I agree.
I think it's interesting if you go back and look at the ordinances as they change. B1, residence in B1 was added to our ordinances back when I was mayor, 2010, 2011. And for some reason, when the last revision of the B1, B2, when you added B3, suddenly that statement that you could have a residence in B1 disappeared. I don't think anybody intended to remove it, so I don't see why it's such a big deal to put it back in there.
Well, I'm recalling some of that discussion, and there was some discussion about having residences in B1. Now, we're not exactly the same as every other community, based on the fact that we're very small, and our community has sort of developed over the years. And if you look at a lot of the property up and down 321, even Old Highway 73, that's B1. At a certain point in time, that became Zone B1, and people were living there. And so it made sense to have residences in B1. I think the discussion that we had when we were updating the zoning types and included B3 was that in other communities, in larger communities, there's a distinction between residential zones and business zones. And the purpose of that is you have inherently different types of activities happening in a business zone versus in a residence zone. So it's not uncommon, my understanding, and it may be actually more common in most places not to have residences in B1. So I think there was some thinking that went into that. But I've reflected on that sense, and I think for Townsend, and for the reason that I think we need to take every opportunity in our land use policies to encourage full-time residents or people that live here a substantial amount of time, I'm in support of including residences in B1. I am really worried that at some point we may lose a balance of people that live here most of the time. It doesn't take long if you go around knocking on doors. There's more and more places. We heard the statistics on short-term rentals increased 14%, and that's just since 2022. So anything we can do to make sure that we don't lose the balance of people that actually live here in the city limits in Townsend, I think is important. So that's one of the things that is sort of persuasive to me. I would like to see it go back through the planning commission so that they can properly, look at it together with all the other ordinances that they have. But I think, I'm open to whatever proposals might be made.
Here's the one thing I fear. We tell the planning commission, work on this, put B1. They go, well, as long as we're doing that, we might as well do this and this and this, and it drags out for months before we ever get anything. I think it needs to be very laser focused on getting residents allowed in B1.
Well, Commissioner Jenkins, you and I are the members of the city council that are on the planning commission.
Mm-hmm.
So I would suggest that we take it upon ourselves at the next planning commission to make that point. I think it, as Commissioner Hedrick pointed out, does sound like it's something that could be quite simple, putting it back in B1.
So that's something you don't want to do tonight, because I guess you need verbiage and stuff. So can I go ahead and make a motion to get that information going and have it ready? And if for some reason planning commission doesn't meet, it still comes before us and we adopt it?
I think we could try to develop some language on our own. I hope that it won't work that way, but I think I would not be opposed to that.
Because in case something happens and they don't do it, I want it next month.
I think we could put something on there. We've got some time. It's probably just it's more straightforward, I think, in my thought to put it back in B1. If you start thinking about it in the context of B3, again, that's the high intensity district, and so then, there might be some other considerations, but,
Like we said, get a B1.
Laser focus, but then it's a change in ordinance, so it's got to be public readings and that's it, and voted on twice. So it'll take a while unless we have special meetings for it. But truly, now, you're perfectly able, and I'm not, maybe not saying this right, you could take the ordinance and mark it up and say, this is what I want, and get it together. And, because it shouldn't take much if we just focus on that.
Can I make a motion to get that?
you can make a motion. What is your motion?
To have the ordinance and verbiage ready for planning commission, but if planning commission doesn't meet, we go ahead and vote on it no matter what.
Okay. We can try to ourselves to craft something and have the language that we would send to planning commission that would be sort of our recommended language. And then if they didn't meet, we could take it up ourselves.
Can we just replace what was there before, the old verbiage back into B1?
It might not be exactly that simple because a lot of the things were taken, there were a subset of functions that were taken out of B1 and put into B3, so it might not be quite as easy as just reverting to the other language. But I don't think it's...
I think it was just one that small paragraph, but I didn't know if we could just put that one paragraph back in.
Well, we can figure out what the right words are. If it's the previous language or if it's something new, I think it's straightforward. And so we can endeavor to draft that language and send it to planning. That.
And then come to us. Either way.
Okay.
So, Becky, you're asking if the planning commission doesn't agree to the proposed verbiage,
Or doesn't meet.
it comes to the city commission evaluate without the planning commission's recommendation. Right? Okay, just want to make sure I understand what you're after.
Okay. What's the motion? Can we restate it, make it simple?
Make a motion for an ordinance with verbiage to add residents back into B1. And send it to planning commission, but if they do not meet, have it come to, or whether they approve it, disapprove it, don't meet, have it come to us in August for us to.
Okay. I think that's straightforward. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. Thanks, Commissioner Tripp. Okay, that concludes our unfinished business. Now that brings us to public input not on the agenda.
Jeff, did you have anything for, not on the agenda?
No, I wasn't sure if that item was going to be on the agenda, but it got added, so I'm...
David? Yeah, real quick. Months ago, I told you I had the alert system, remember, and I would try to research that alert system because the chief knows how passionate I am about it. So I have sent email of severe, it doesn't matter if it's Gallup Park, but I found severe county management service. And I emailed you the information. I emailed you, didn't hear anything, so I had my husband, I printed it all from here, and my husband delivered it to the window over there about 2 weeks ago. So I'm kind of confused, and it said, contact this person who's in charge of all this. I circled it. I put all this information. The app is free. Severe management does not charge. The app to the people are free. This is what it says here. So I'm kind of confused at the big delay at doing this, because all you got to do is contact them. I don't know what happened to the information I brought, so I'm kind of frustrated that I did it, because I promised you I would. And then no one says they got an email or they got the papers. I'm not saying it was you, I don't know who it was, I have to ask. So I'm wondering what happened to the information I sent, because they had everything there. So,
If it makes you feel any better, I read it completely. And
Oh, did you?
That's where I got the information about the boards.
oh, good.
Yeah.
And she was right, she kind of, it sounds like you kind of read what they have here, is what you were saying, it's right. And they even have here an outdoor system, it says on here. I didn't read that part. So if you would contact those people, either Daltonburg or Sevierville, I don't care which, I think we could just do that here. Instead of waiting so long, and if something happens and there's not an alert, we're gonna feel really bad if some people haven't evacuated because there's no alert. So I just am frustrated, kind of like you on that B1. Why this is taking so long to get a simple alert in this town?
Well, I think we did take and look at other types of systems. I can't remember the name of some of them that we looked at, so I can't tell you specifically, Debbie, about what we did with your specific information. Commissioner Jenkins
I did
reviewed.
read over it, and I read over this, and that's,
Okay.
after everything that I had read, this is the system that I thought best.
Okay.
Being a firefighter, being on the city commission,
Oh, okay.
I felt this would be the
Yeah, I
best
don't know
thing for
which one.
not just our community, but the visitors coming into our community would have access to. But I did read your information.
Okay, that's
Kayla
what
had
I-
brought us some more information to the
Yes, that's
table.
what I said.
And I had looked over it, and I felt that this was the best for our
Oh,
community
no,
at
that's
this time.
fine, but since we're.
But
not
thank you
included-
for doing that, I appreciate it.
Gatlinburg, Sevierville, they're like our neighbors, they have the same terrain, it's, they live on mountains, we live on mountains. So I just feel like, let's copy them. So that's all I have to
Okay,
say. Okay, thanks.
thank you very much.
Mary Kay, did you have anything for not on the agenda?
Well, I would just say, I find it no manner that nobody responded to her and said they got it or read it. That's poor manners to not let a citizen know that you read what they went to all the trouble to do, that they said they'd do for you, and you didn't bother to say, yes, I got your email, thank you for doing this. I think that's poor manners. Thank you.
Any other?
I think
Okay.
Thank you. I have made a number of requests for public records, and your city manager's been very helpful in providing those. But today I picked up some of those and was given a list of 35 emails that include my name, and the reason that I was not allowed to see them is because you're claiming attorney-client privilege. There is no pending lawsuit nor any imminent threat of lawsuit. You can't legally claim attorney-client privilege on any public record when there is neither. I would urge you to provide those 35 emails that have my name in them because they're public records. All electronic communication is a public record under Tennessee state law. If it involves your municipal email account or a municipally supplied cell phone, or if you made a decision to not take a municipal email account and chose to use your own for municipal purposes, that makes every email in your account discoverable as public record because you chose not to differentiate the two. That's a statement of fact, all of that, and I would urge you all to obey the law. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aker. As I mentioned, we're working very closely with our city attorney, with our MTS advisors, and with the Tennessee State Comptroller's Office, the Open Records Council, to make sure that we comply with all of our responsibilities. Okay, anybody else? Speak. Okay, commissioners, that brings us to other business. Any other business we need to pick up tonight? Okay, hearing none, that last item on our agenda is adjournment, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Okay, all in favor, say aye.